Buddy Hield, the sore that won't go away. Yeah, the Dodgers won. Looks like they're going to have another 100-win season. We're going to see if they can actually capitalize this time on winning the whole damn thing.
And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's late night with the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, including some great things going on with Star Wars Ahsoka, some huge Xbox leaks that came out earlier this week. My gosh, just so much that you weren't supposed to know. We now know about the future of the Xbox. And you can check out our comments there. Plus, we've seen the best and the worst of fighting games. Now, Joe is directly tied to an upcoming fighting game. And I'm going to bring Joe back in here real quick before we continue. Joe, I will tell you what, for the game that you've got upcoming that you are so diligently being a part of and working on, please, for the love of God, let it be more like the success of Mortal Kombat 1 on the next-gen systems and not the absolute monumental failure of Mortal Kombat 1 on the Nintendo Switch. Please.
Yeah, the Switch is a no-go at this point, obviously, especially if you're making a game in Unreal 5. I just don't think it's gonna ever. That's a completely different realm, let's just say. But we're very, very impressed with the new iPhone 15 being able to play Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
Not
raised more than a few eyebrows out there.
Yeah, not any lag and not a bad. I don't know what it is about Resident Evil. It just has good vibes coming from it, no matter what it does. It seems so. The thing with the timing of this is that's really what it is the timing. The timing is we're coming on possibly a new IP that could resonate. And the resources used to create this are nowhere near what most of the big boys spend on the games because it's been independently created, and there is an independent crowd that's very excited to see what an indie can do in terms of impact. We had discussed the possibility of going mainstream with a particular deal should it arise, but we're going back and forth right now on whether we want to do that because we lose that elegance of the indie kind of area. And we're going to find out here in the next 6 months. We'll find out if it's a dud or we'll find out if it's a stud. If it's a stud, life's going to change for a lot of people, including us here at the show. Because if this hits, it will be like winning the Powerball. And I equated it to this, and I might be wrong. I might be wishful thinking here, but I'm the analogy I've been using to make it make sense to those who don't know the video game world is for the last 35 plus years, and in between there, you have two other games that have come to fruition, which is Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken. I equate those three games in terms of their reputation in the fighting game world as ABC, CBS, and NBC. We may be Fox in the mid-'80s coming in as the fourth network. That's the easiest way I can explain it. Well, should it hit?
If you ever put it out on the Switch, make a separate version. Don't port it. For the love of God, Matt, do not port it onto the Switch.
We are not doing anything on the Switch, at the current Switch. I promise you that's not happening. It's just not possible.
It's 100 million install base plus. I mean, that's why the people are doing it.
It's not
You got to make
possible.
a separate version that takes advantage.
I know 1/100th of the knowledge of you and my friends who are heavily involved in this, and even I know that. Believe me when I say this. This is a next gen game. It's going to be on the Series X, or it's going to be on the PlayStation 5, or a platform. I'm sorry, or a PC. Sorry, one of those three, or all of them, or whatever. But not the Switch, not the current Switch.
You just can't. People have learned their lesson. You just cannot port straight ports. You got to make a separate version for it. Otherwise, it's a serious mistake.
This
But well,
yeah, thank you, Bloodhound, for the words of encouragement. Again, this is a this is a business that is extremely volatile, and I can't even really use a better word. It's actually worse, but volatile is something that makes sense. It is a constant one step forward, two steps back business. You have to be a nutcase to ever get into this business. Entertainment business, not
I think that
the
explains
video
itself
game.
for Joe.
Yeah, video game. And what the reason why it's appealing to some of us is some of us it's who we are, i.e., my friends who are the developers. This is what they're wired for. It's all for nothing, all or nothing. For me, what could derive from it is what I'm going after. We're talking about movies, TV, esports. There's a lot of things that will come out of this, and it doesn't matter if it's video games, TV, music. It all kind of intertwines together now. All those genres come together in some way, work together. So the network will obviously grow in abundance, and also will have a reputation of being a kind of the maverick crew that created a game that battled the greats.
Well, there you go, indeed. But also going ahead and making sure that you know, as he'll keep you up to date with what's going on with Corrupt. Also, make sure to let you know Inside Sports Fantasy Football, where we talk week 3 in the NFL and everything going on there, and how you should not hit the panic button for your fantasy football team. Plus, also as well, of course, Simblades with a Y.com, LakersBall.com as Ox1947. Of course, the Lakerholics crew of Jamie Sweet and the number one Lakers blogger that is out there, Mr. LakerTom, who provided even more crazy things, as we'll talk about here in a sec. Our good friends, Empire Jeff TV, subscribe today, and John McCallion, also as well to his YouTube channels. And please subscribe. Hit that little Joe with the beady eyes right next to Sean, probably scaring him as we speak, but please go ahead and subscribe today right there for us at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. But great show tonight. It's a little late in the evening. Our guest, unfortunately, had to go ahead and reschedule. We apologize for that earlier today. So we decided we're going to go ahead and do something a little special for you tonight, a Lakers-centric podcast indeed. And it all starts with the latest rumors. A big thank you for the super chat for Intel Wild. Best Lakers channel out here on YouTube. That's the Lakers Fast Break. And we, as a biased community here at the Lakers Fast Break, agree with you on that, Intel Wild, and truly appreciate your kind gift, as extremely appreciated by all of us. But recently, Shams Charania from The Athletic did report that contract extensions have, as far as the negotiations, have kind of stalled for Indiana and Buddy Hield. So they've started to go ahead and, if they didn't already, guys, they already are now kind of going in the process of looking for a trade for Buddy Hield. You know, he has been the source or one half of the fascination for LakerTom for over a year now, and this has only turned up the wicker even more for LakerTom, as we'll discuss with him on Lakerholics this weekend. First up, first man here, it is Mr. Simblades himself, Joe Soro. And Joe, you're hearing all this on Buddy Hield. Great shooter, but as was explained earlier in our chat, even before we went on the air, with 805 Hiking, who is a good friend of the show, truly appreciate him coming back. Good to hear from him. He was very upset with us as far as even talking about this, but the problem is, in Lakerland, they're talking about Buddy Hield possibly becoming a Laker.
I don't know where that thought process goes on why there would even be a chance of him coming to LA. The Lakers have set the team for success currently, and they're going to play this out until they absolutely can't. Their their contracts for certain players like D'Angelo Russell specifically is set so that it can maneuver if it has to, but ultimately I think they're banking on the fact that this is going to be the team that starts and finishes together, and hopefully with a Larry O'Brien trophy coming to LA. There are a lot of scenarios for Indiana, probably better contracts and maybe better draft capital coming their way. The first team I thought of when I heard that Indiana was going to move Buddy Hield was Boston, because right now Malcolm Brogdon is not happy in Boston. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was something there, and that would be something that would definitely benefit.
Didn't Indiana trade him to Boston?
I mean, I'm just saying it's going to be one of those things where if they're that desperate to move that contract, I don't know. It's the first team I thought of. Draft capital coming back could be worth it. Then you have Memphis. I think Memphis could use someone like Buddy Hield to spread the floor a little bit more. They do need some shooting. Either way, I believe he's going to a contender, one way or the other. I just don't see how.
Who's more valuable with an expiring contract right now, Buddy Hield or OG Anunoby?
That's a good question. Who's more valuable in terms of the player?
Yeah.
Well, OG.
Because OG, of course, he's a better player. Absolutely, yes. Another
source of LakerTom fantasy trades, by the way.
Of course.
But Buddy Hield plays a needed.
Sorry, Joe, for interrupting.
No, it's okay. You weren't. You never interrupt me. If you have something to say, just tell me. Buddy Hield is a merc right now. Get ready to watch him as a mercenary for the rest of his career until he can't shoot. So whomever goes after him has to be a contender, and they know that, hey, we need this guy to really spread the floor and be that guy that can be the dagger when we need him. And Memphis and Boston right now are the two teams that I believe desperately need someone like that. How the trades can come together, I don't know. And as far as the Lakers are concerned, the only way I see that trade happening, which would be completely out of left field, is if they package something with D'Lo to send him to Indiana. But why would you do that before you see how well he plays at the beginning of the year? You still don't really have a point guard except for D'Angelo Russell. I know LeBron plays the point forward, but you don't want him handling the ball for 82 games. You don't consider
Gabe Vincent a point guard?
We don't know that yet. Yes, I do from what I've seen in Miami, but this is going to be a little different than the Miami setup. We have to see how Gabe does in this setting with LeBron and AD. Until we see something, I don't think the Lakers should trade anything at this point. It's just not. It's not good. It's not good business. It doesn't look solidified if you do something like that. Which I don't see it. I don't see they're gonna give this thing a shot, and I just don't see how this team isn't gonna play well if LeBron and AD are not injured. This team, the team's skill set, all these guys, they all have the perfect skill sets to play with this team. We have to let it play out. So I just don't see a Buddy Hield trade in any way coming LA's way. It's just not. There's no way. I can't see it. I'm sorry, I don't.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is a late night edition of Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. It's Joe Sorrell and Gerald Glassford right here for you. But also here today, good man indeed. He's the man from Toronto. He is really staying up late night right there for us. But he did come in to go ahead and talk some Buddy Hield along with the rest of the topics for today's show. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. And Magic Man, great to have you here. We could deny the fact that Buddy Hield is a possible option that's out there for us. But when you look at a team that finished 25th in shooting, and even with Christian Wood, and a couple other additions, Torian Prince and all that, not 40% shooters. They're like high 30s type of shooters, which should improve us our shooting a little bit, but not the big home run hitters that you're looking for as far as behind the arc, unless D'Lo and Austin Reeves continue to pop behind there. Your thoughts on Buddy Hield? As long as he's out there, I think it's going to be talked about and possibly be acted on. But you're talking about someone who would still be coming off the bench, right?
At this point, on a look, I'm sure on in a vacuum on a team like the Sacramento Kings or the Indiana Pacers, he looks good as your shooting guard or small forward. But Gerald, come on, a contending team, you're coming off the bench, buddy.
I agree.
That's just the way it's going to be, And I said it in the comments, Gerald. If you really believe that he's this kind of volume 3-point shooter and he can kind of replicate or try to reach his heights as an efficient volume 3-point shooter, then you have to be sure he's your James Posey coming off the bench and going to help you try and win a championship. And I don't see it right now, Gerald, especially with us for all the reasons Joe mentioned. I'm not gonna repeat it because Joe spelled it out eloquently. But the fact remains is that we still haven't seen how this group is going to play together, and now you want to insert a new part with the wheels already up in the air. It's going to be kind of hard, especially considering the fact that, as Jamie's mentioned this during like Rob's entire tenure up until the trade deadline, he usually doesn't make those kind of pivoting trades, Gerald, especially when you haven't even tipped the ball up and played a game with this group yet. Look, Hill does a lot of good things out there. He's a volume 3-point shooter. He could shoot over 40% from his career. That's a given. He's a pretty good free throw shooter, even though he can't really create his own shot anymore, Gerald. When he first came into the league, he was I think a tick under about 40% on the shots he was assisted on. Now it's closer to 60% because Gerald, you know what happens even when shooters get south of 30. The wheels on the bus aren't going round and round anymore as well as they should be. Now, you might be a little perplexed when you say that, just looking at his career arc, because he doesn't really miss a lot of games. If he's available, he could play. There was even a story last year that he was violently ill, Gerald, and he still wanted to play for the Pacers. He showed up to the arena still sick, and Rick Carlisle and the staff basically had to beg him to go home and get well. So it's strange to say that the Lakers really shouldn't be looking at Buddy Hield, but as of right now, we shouldn't be looking at Buddy Hield.
Well, LakerTom is always looking at Buddy Hield, especially when it comes to adding him in a package with, of course, Miles Turner, which he's been dreaming about for over a year. Joe, I'll bring it back to you again. If the serious talks come to fruition in regards to what we see with Buddy Hield being shopped out there on the marketplace, I want to ask you this, my friend. Would you have to attach Miles Turner to make it happen?
I don't know if Indiana wants to trade Miles Turner. I think there's been rumors that they've been looking, but I think they would have done it by now if they really wanted to get rid of Turner. I don't think they should. I think their team is more complete with him on the team, and guys like Matherin and Halliburton. That it kind of balances the roster out. The Buddy Hield situation is you can't pay everyone $30 million in Indiana, so try and get some compensation for him now would be best for the organization in the future. If they were to package Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, it would have to be for a star, at least if I was running Indiana. Who? I don't know. I don't know who would want to go to Indiana. And at the moment right now, there's some crazy rumors right now saying that Damian Lillard's trade is about to kind of take on a whole new dimension. They're saying this thing might get done here soon, within the next week, if not less. I don't know if that's the first domino before the James Harden situation. I don't know if Indiana has any play in those things. Unfortunately, it is Indiana. No one wants to go to Indiana, and usually the mid-level type teams don't usually get a Kawhi Leonard out of nowhere where someone's trying to send their players somewhere, right?
Yep.
But I think this is just a simple issue in contract negotiation. Buddy Hield didn't want to extend at the number that Indiana wanted, and now they have to shop him out. That's it. There's nothing else, I think, beyond this. I don't think Miles Turner has anything to do with what's going on with him. And Indiana would be, if I was running Indiana again, I would keep Miles Turner, because you don't get too many bigs who have his skill set, and you already have two really good perimeter players, one that's about to ascend, the other one that has the ability to ascend. Why would you get rid of someone who can kind of stabilize your team in terms of balance? For what? That's the thing, is for what? Who are you going to trade these guys for that are going to be better players? I don't see anybody out there that's better at this point. That it would make sense. Are you going to rebuild in Indiana? Haven't you been rebuilding for the last 20 years since Reggie Miller's been gone? No.
And they're not. They don't really look to do that anyway. They're one of the few franchises that has never had a number one overall pick, so they don't go out of their way to try and tank either, Joe.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people just love throwing them into the trade machine with the Lakers just because it's convenient as AF. The fact remains is that they try. It's like, for them, it's like 8th seed or bust. It's like they try and make the playoffs, get a little bit of gate money, and be happy with that. They don't really try and tank.
I will ask you this, though. Great comments in our chat so far. Intel Wild with the super chat. We love the Lakers fast break. And Darren also with a great super chat. And thank you so much. Truly appreciate it from the bottom of all of our hearts here at the Lakers fast break, for your kind and generous tips for us, and also the super chats and super thanks out there. Darren said, what are we going to try and get for D'Lo? If he plays well, do we write it out? Which is a good question. Again, D'Lo to me is someone in the regular season who's going to look a lot better to people than what we see in the postseason, because of certain gifts that he has. Seems to play well for him in the regular season than what it does in the postseason, when some of his flaws stick out more. So I ask you, Sean, when it comes to D'Angelo, I had said before, and I'll say it again, this is his probably most crucial year of his entire NBA career, because we will see he's on a playoff, with everything goes right and everybody's healthy, a serious playoff team. He could be at the front of it playing a key role, and could be thought of after a great year or a really solid year as a player who should be a solid starter in the league with a nice big fat contract for years to come. Or it could go a truly different way if it goes wrong indeed.
Yeah, Gerald, you're right. It's he's either gonna keep going down this nice smooth path, or it's gonna veer left real quick. Like it's probably gonna escalate. You're right. There's only like one or two ways.
If you're going to get like 15 points, 7 assists, and 40% from beyond the arc, I'd say that's a big win for D'Angelo.
Yes, 100%, absolutely. And and I would look at it this way. I think it also has a synergistic effect if he has those numbers, because if he's shooting well from beyond the arc. He normally does, but that really tells me that somebody else, or maybe 2 or 3 other Lakers as well, are shooting well from beyond the arc as well. You have D'Lo, that's a volume 3-point shooter, Gerald. We have Taurean Prince, who's a volume 3-point shooter. You're trying to add in Christian Wood, who's not a volume 3-point shooter, by the way, although some people try and slip that in. Why would we add Buddy Hield at this point? That's great that you like. If you have shooting, it's a lot like having pitching in the playoffs. You can never have too many arms. You can never have too many defensemen in the NHL when you're trying to win a Stanley Cup. You can never have too much shooting. Fair enough. But the fact of the matter is that this team already has, I think, requisite perimeter defense to hold up if you have injuries and that. I wouldn't want to see that depleted just to try and get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, who, by the way, Gerald, you've said this countless times. Buddy Hield is on an expiring contract, and Joe has said it as well. Watch him play really well this year. He might come out of the
D'Angelo is kind of on an expiring contract in a way too.
Yeah, so both of these guys could very well come out hell on wheels, basically, shooting. So, and if that happens, why mess with a good thing?
I do want to say to Alice out there, great to have you here. I do want to make a correction. I think I was pointing to your direction last week in regards to training camp. Training camp for the teams that are going outside the United States, overseas, they will start on the 25th and 26th as far as media days. Media day for the Lakers, because they do not have to go overseas, will be on October the 2nd, and training camp will start on the 3rd of October. So I wanted to clarify that to you next time I saw you. I was keeping it in the brain, the memory, to make sure that I'd hit you up on that, but I wanted to go ahead and let you know from there. But Joe, I wanted to ask you this. I do appreciate your thoughts on this in regards to Buddy Hield. He's still, again, you're going to hear his name now continuously until there is a trade that takes place, because it looks like now that they're listening more to trade offers, or they're actively seeking trade offers for Buddy Hield. I think that a package would be easier and more acceptable to all parties concerned. But then again, like you said, if you give up Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, you're essentially going ahead and saying to yourself, we're punting on another season in Indiana.
They're already the 30th salaried team in the NBA. They're dead last. There's really no pressure for them to dump salary just because they are trying to get through some kind of threshold. They have a very good, solid team. They can compete. And I believe they will continue to compete. I believe Buddy Hield will get traded to a contender. They will get some assets in that trade, because Buddy Hield does possess a skill set, and someone will want to take advantage of a expiring year of a shooter who is going to put a lot of effort in, who already puts a lot of effort into being available. Something that I think we need to commend. I know it's sad to do this, commend someone to being available. Wow, well, isn't that your job? It's kind of like saying, well, he's a good dad. He's supposed to be a good dad. He shouldn't be getting patted on the back on that one. But Buddy Hield actually likes to play basketball, folks, and he doesn't like to miss games. That's my kind of guy. That is my kind of guy.
The age thing, he's was
Yeah,
a little
but
bit older than what he said he
doesn't
was
really
originally.
matter if he's shooting 40% from three. He could be 40 years old. As long as you're hitting those shots at a 40% clip, you're always going to have a job.
Yeah, I always thought Michael Thompson was older than what he said too. There's something about these Bohemian guys, just like they're 25, but they look 21. So it's who cares? Dirk did the same thing.
Okay, I'm just saying, but yeah, you're right. He when he plays a lot of the games, he's more available than most players in the league, and he does shoot 40%. And like you said, Joe, as long as he can do that, he's going to stay in the league, for another 5 to 7 years. I could see that happening, despite whatever age he actually is. So, Sean, I ask you this, my friend. Again, you're going to still hear him in the midst of Lakers rumors, and not just from LakerTom, even though a lot of it will come from LakerTom.
Have you heard rumors?
Yes, I've heard rumors. It's
Is
all over.
Shams just saying that just to get clicks? Is that the kind of game he's playing now?
I think it's both when he hears these things, you could say it either comes from the team that's actually told him to go ahead and leak that out, or from the agent.
Okay, I want someone to explain to me why this is even a discussion and why the Lakers would do this. I need a legitimate answer to that question.
Well, I could say
why would the Lakers set up their team the way they have, only to say, let's trade our only point guard for a shooter?
Yeah, it's almost like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
You must have to have a confidence. No, he's not their only point guard. Gabe Vincent is also a point guard. So you'd have to have a ton of confidence in Gabe Vincent. B, the team finished 25th overall in three-point shooting. I'm not saying it myself. I'm saying you're asking why. Those are the reasons why. It's because you must be infatuated, A, with Gabe Vincent, and you must be infatuated with Buddy Hield shooting to bring you up substantially from where they ranked last season. That's the reasons why. You ask for reasons why. Those are the reasons why somebody out there might be. Now, personally, I would keep it as is. I think Buddy Hield is a solid player, but I don't think he moves the needle enough. Is he going to be able to play in a crunch time playoff type format with his lack of defensive skills, even though he's going to probably take a lot and make a lot of clutch 3-point shooting? You're going to have a lot of give and take with him. We talked about other players that might be eligible. LakerTom has thrown a ton out there. OG Anunoby is the only one I see that I'm really interested in. He had a ridiculous one it included Isaacs and Gary Harris from Orlando. And I was thinking, my God, what are you smoking? But then again, we all know what LakerTom is smoking. Your thoughts, or do we? Maybe we don't. So
we've seen him smoke stuff, haven't we?
No comment. But I will say this. I asked my friend if he wanted some questions on that. That's why his name is being bandied about in Lakers circles. Joe. I'm just telling you why. I didn't say I agree with it. I'm just telling you why.
This would have made sense in July. Right now, it doesn't.
I agree. I agree.
Right now, there's way too much continuity building. There's too much focus on the team being built and ready to start the season. I don't see any chance of anything going on. Plus, the Lakers would have to give up some kind of draft asset, and I don't think they want to do that for Buddy Hield at the moment.
I mean, we don't have enough assets for Damian Lillard. Now, that would be a player I could be interested in as far as a possible trade scenario there, Sean. But Buddy Hield at this point in time, unless it comes with Miles Turner, is something I think at this point in time, which you and I both know after a year of waiting through all these LakerTom isms that we've had to wade through all these past few months, more than 12 months, when it comes to Miles Turner, Buddy Hield. That I think is just a ship that sailed. I think unless you hear Damian Lillard's name in Portland saying, hey, you're interested in him, I think really right now that they just are going to try and go to bat with the team that they have now.
Oh yeah, definitely 100% drilled. I agree. This you planted your flag with these guys. This is who we're going to war with, and you don't. What we talked about, you don't bitch out before you find out what you have. You don't do that. It's against the man code. You don't do that. Rob's not going to do it. Darvin Ham's not going to do it. And like you, Joe, have illustrated, it makes no sense to pivot for. I'm just gonna say it's like a lateral move. Like even if you acquired Miles Turner, I still think it's a lateral move.
And you have to have all the faith in the world in Gabe Vincent.
Yes, as your only true point guard. Yes. And you'd be stuck in a position similar to what the Phoenix Suns are in right now. They really only have one true point guard on the team who's not a real point guard. So they're going to eventually come up against a wall, and I don't think they're going to be able to solve that conundrum. I don't want to see us in a similar position either, Gerald. I think if you made a move like this, you also had to keep in mind that you're going to have insurance at the point guard position, so you wouldn't be left with, your
If you get
pants
TJ
around.
McConnell in the deal, I may be more interested.
TJ McConnell, or maybe you get Monte Morris from Detroit, just somebody to kind of stabilize that point guard position, because this move in and of itself doesn't really make us better. It depletes us, makes us less athletic, less younger, and not to mention, we're also going to have to deal with the inevitability, Gerald, that once Gerald Vanderbilt is available for trade, that I think Tom's going to have a change of heart about Gerald Vanderbilt.
Well, that's 6 months away.
Yeah, and some other Laker fans will too, and we won't hear the end of that until, thank God, when the trade season is over, Gerald, and the trade deadline passes. That's one of my favorite days,
because he becomes eligible for a trade after the trade date. So essentially, he is not eligible for
a trade this year, just the summer. Yeah.
So, but I think
it won't stop Tom.
It won't. No, nothing stops it. No, won't stop Tom. Take a look at his Medium. I actually posted the link for his Medium articles. It's certainly not stopped Tom, indeed. But before we go ahead and move on to the other subject we want to talk about for today's show, I wanted to go ahead and mention something that Serge has said, and I see his point, Joe, and that is, how do you not show interest in a pure shooter? It's always nice to have one, because I don't know if you want to consider D'Angelo and Austin pure shooters. Do you want to see a little bit more from them before you say that? I think they're good shooters. Have been statistically been right there at the 40% mark behind the arc. So you could say that they're really good shooters. Are they pure shooters? Do you think that would qualify?
No, I don't think they're pure shooters. Buddy Hield is a pure shooter.
So you can see the interest that some have in getting him on the Lakers.
No, there would be great interest. I would love to have him on the team, but at the expense, unfortunately, no. The expense would be you'd have to give up a player whom I've said several times is going to be the main whooping boy this year. As soon as he makes a mistake, you're going to be blaming him, his family, and every origin that he's come from.
Had to use that comment again, didn't you?
What comment?
With D'Angelo, the one I asked you to not keep using, and you've used it like 3 times since I asked you to not use it. But go ahead, keep continuing, my friend.
Okay. Didn't know that one was the bad one. So we're not. We need D'Angelo to play the way he played in the good games, and we have to understand that he's going to also have some duds. He is not a superstar. He is a very good player, and if he improves just a little bit, it's going to benefit the Lakers greatly. And then if you have a backup point guard in Gabe Vincent, or however that plays out during the year, then you've just added even more benefit to the team. There's so many opportunities for this team to succeed with the current roster that you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not letting it play out a little bit, because you might have an itch to get something that you want, which is really a good shooter, somebody like Buddy Hield, who's a sniper. I think that's the word I was thinking about. I couldn't remember. Sniper, somebody like a Del Curry, somebody like Glenn Rice towards the end of his career, someone who can shoot. The second you see them open, you're worried. That's the best way to explain it. With Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, I will say this: when the ball releases from their hands, it looks good every time. So whether you want to call them pure shooters. I don't necessarily see them as pure shooters. I feel like D'Angelo should have been a pure shooter. I think that would have made his career completely different had he been a more consistent shooter. But we unfortunately don't have that kind of D'Angelo Russell. I think that's what's pretty much kept him from becoming a perennial all-star is the fact that Sasha Vujicic is too much. Not as to the extent of Sasha, where he missed everything except for 1 year, but he's just not consistent enough. And the timing of those shots aren't consistent enough in big games to make that next level kind of leap into superstardom. But we don't need him to be that. We need him to stabilize the offense. We need him to play as good team defense as he can, because we know his individual defense is never going to be anything that he can hang his hat on. But we need him to make those shots now that you have a little bit more floor space with someone like Christian Wood. And of course, if AD is playing 70 games this year, the intrigue is there. I'm very curious to see how this develops. And the Lakers are going to come out the gate playing, in my opinion, the two teams that they're going to have to battle in the West, in Denver and Phoenix. If they can split those two games, I'll feel a little bit better about where they're probably going to go, barring any major injury. And and D'Angelo and Austin Reeves are going to play a big part of that. And hopefully Gabe Vincent can add, some pressure on the D-Lo to make him play better as well. And of course, whether that does that or not, either way, I think we kind of solve that problem if either one hits.
Exactly, Bloodhound 73. It would have to be Gabe Vincent, but who would back Gabe Vincent at the point guard unless you're talking about LeBron James and putting a 38 to 39-year-old out there that's used to, playing a different position now than what he once did. In the bubble, it was great. He was still have that athleticism and just be able to, the energy to go ahead and do everything for the point guard. But I don't think you want to go ahead, Sean, and put as much. I mean, I'm sure there will be times that he has the ball. That's just LeBron James. You're just going to have so much activity from him, that you still can, but it's going to be flashes. It's going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're the team knowing that it's probably going to be a good season, barring any health issues. It's a talented team. It should be the case where you try to save the activity level for LeBron. So having two guards that can go ahead and handle the ball and a third guard in Austin Reeves that can also do some playmaking. Although if you make him the point guard, I think that's asking for a lot. And I think that's asking for trouble.
Oh, we saw Gerald. He was a terrible point guard.
Yeah, that's not going to work. But, there's still people that talk about that. I like Buddy Hield. I respect Buddy Hield. But in the end, unless you're going to be able to get him without sacrificing too much, it's going to be something that the end just doesn't justify enough the means that in order to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be similarly along the lines of what the Clippers got in return for Luke Kennard. Like that, it would, if you want multiple second round draft picks, sure, we'll take Buddy Hield for that. But I'm not gonna give up and deplete what I already have at my guard position, especially at the point guard, for essentially another volume 3-point shooter. And again, like, it's not just robbing Peter to pay Paul. There are ripple effects here, and you just mentioned one of them, Gerald. You're trying to reduce or put less stress on LeBron and his stress minutes in the NBA. Those stress minutes should be saved for the playoffs or very competitive regular season games. That being said, if you traded D'Lo, got Buddy Hield, again, it's like putting one finger on one dike, and then it creates another dike. And you've got another
leak in the dike. Yes,
exactly, and that would be the ultimately the long-term problem there. And you're right. There's just no point. Although everything that everyone has said tonight is justified, including Search and anybody else in the chat who said, "Well, you can never have too much shooting." Well, that's true too, but I mean, we don't live in a perfect world either, so
Well,
you
there's
have to
also the
make your
Joe Soro
choices.
rule. Don't forget the Joe Soro rule, because you're always, subtracting what a career shooter does. Like, right, Joe? What is your golden rule about Lakers shooters when they come to Lakerland and Hollywood Tinseltown?
Yeah, the sphincter in LA is different. So you always drop at least a few percentage points once you got the LA lights on. The LA lights do something to the body that tenses
The
it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's so true. But the only it's like really the only guy who never caught that voodoo was Glenn Rice, but he was only here for a year.
And he was, and this is the amazing thing about Glenn Rice. I understood that Phil Jackson always had to have a guy to go after. Is that better, Gerald?
Yes.
He always had to have someone in the canine house. Is that better, Gerald?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to say dog. I don't want to offend anybody out there.
Thank you.
Because it might mean something about dogs, and then almost all of a sudden I'm Michael Vick.
Well, it's just a less of a headache.
Okay, so the Lakers won 67 games in 2000, and MVP Shaq, Kobe, first team all defense, coming into his own, his first full season as a starter in an 82 game season, right? And this is with him missing a few games with a broken hand. Glenn Rice averaged 15.8 points that year as the third option. And the Lakers had a 19-game winning streak, a 16-game winning streak, and an 11-game winning streak that season. And if it weren't for Phil Jackson taking his foot off the gas pedal, the Lakers had a very good shot at winning 69 games that year. Matter of fact, him taking his foot off the gas really pissed off Philip Harrison, Shaq's stepfather. And with that, a lot of the reasons why the Lakers won so much that year, from what I saw, was because of Glenn Rice. There was a threat. His defense wasn't great, but his defense was never great. But his threat as a third option won the Lakers and made things much easier. But for some reason, didn't get enough credit, and the Lakers decided that they didn't want to sign him to the contract, which is fine. I kind of understood the money part of that, because you still had Rick Fox and Robert Horry there that you could fall back on. And of course, the Lakers ended up having a better team a year later, even though the regular season record wasn't the same. So it's Buddy Hield is.
Yeah, and you're right. He's the only sniper and sharpshooter that never really caught that bug here.
Right.
It was Terry Teagle caught the bug. Jesse Capono caught the bug. Troy Murphy caught the bug. Yeah. Troy Murphy caught the bug. Remember Mike Brown and Troy Murphy? Troy Murphy's a dead-eye shooter. Yeah, he was. He dead-eyed him right out of the rotation.
Jeez. Yes, it would Hield would work on this team, of course, but at the expense, it's just not the right way to go.
So we've heard some great thoughts out there on Buddy Hield, and thanks so much again for joining us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Sorrell, the Magic Man Sean Grice, and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. If you have not yet subscribed, please hit the little Joe with the beady eyes right next to me on the right-hand corner of your screen on YouTube to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break. But before we head on out, still quite a bit to talk about as far as the rotation is concerned. And I know that Brian had some good thoughts and a lot of others in regards to, okay, we've got this really deep roster, but there's some names in this roster on where they play and when do they play. So I ask you guys, I'm bringing this question to you. We already know or have a good idea outside of one spot who the starting lineup will be. It will most likely be, of course, D'Lo, Austin, LeBron, AD, and one other player, whether you want it to be Christian Wood, whether you want it to be Rui Hashimura, whether you want it to be, of course, for Jaron Vanderbilt. So one of those players, most likely, or Jackson Hayes, if you're LakerTom, throwing the really, really long shot in there. So I ask you this, guys. Who are the next players to play? Now, a typical rotation during the course of the season is 9 to 11 players, is what we see. It gets shortened up for the playoffs. I get that, but we're dealing with the playoffs as far as rotation later on. That's another topic for another show on another day down the road. Your thoughts on this, Magic Man? I'll start with you first. Who are the next players in line that will get the initial shot as far as being in the regular rotation for the Los Angeles Lakers behind the starting lineup, based off of what you said? The starting lineup the other day when we talked about it was Jared Vanderbilt in your starting lineup, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, who are your next 5 players that are going to consistently provide minutes early on, depending on results or depending on if you give someone else an opportunity, for the Los Angeles Lakers to start out the season?
Yeah, well, I think if we go back to, kind of the simplest explanation, Gerald, if we look at Ham's rotations and what he likes
Three
to do,
guards.
yeah. So you're going to have to probably live with the fact that he's going to substitute Vando out and likely bring in Gabe Vincent. So you're probably going to have, Vincent.
Is he the first one off the bench? Because it would be, to me, Rui Hashimura.
Okay, if you want to bring out Rui, fine, but I think you need to balance out that with some perimeter defense there. Gerald, we do know that like Rui is essentially a 3 guarding bigger 4s now, and LeBron is a 4 guarding less athletic and slower 4s, and Rui or Vando is guarding the other kind of 4. So if that's the case, yeah, I'd bring out Gabe first, and then I'd bring out Rui, and then you're likely probably going to bring out Christian Wood at some point, because you're probably going to want to balance out the playmaking, because it's likely that LeBron and or somebody like D'Lo is eventually going to be subbed out for Prince, because I think between LeBron, Austin Reeves, and Wood as probably your top 3 facilitators, playmakers, you're likely going to want at least a volume 3-point shooter out there with them, and maybe 2. But something tells me Ham's going to sparse it out, I think, between D'Lo and Prince on who he plays with them. But yeah, so Gabe, Rui, Wood, I think Gerald. Outside of that, I think maybe I could see Reddish coming off the bench as well. I could see them going to Reddish before they went to Hayes, personally.
Okay. All right. Joe, for me, all I see right now that's a for certain thing coming off the bench, and I'm also like Magic Man, that I think that Vanderbilt's going to be the one that's going to start. And then, of course, AD, sorry, you're still going to start at the 5. I'm also going to say that the only sure thing for me, as far as coming off the bench on an every game rotation and every game basis right now, based on what I see, is going to be, first up, Rui Hashimura as the 6th man, Gabe Vincent as the 7th, and Christian Wood as your 8th. After that, all bets are off for me. I would like to see Max Christie get a chance and get an opportunity ahead of Cam Reddish, because I understand the theory of Cam Reddish, but as I've been saying now for almost 6 months, or actually I've been saying this since December of last year, when the Cam Reddish, the Lakers rumors and tweets started happening, I'm saying that, he has to improve from the outside before he ever gets a regular shot in the NBA once again. But your thoughts, my friend? Again, after 8 players, for me, I think that you're going to see a constant millowing after that beyond those first 8.
The acceptance of those roles is what I'm going to be waiting to see. We have a few players that have something to prove, Reddish being one. Jackson Hayes being another. And then you have expiring contracts technically in D'Angelo Russell and players like that. So how D'Angelo has shown that he's accepted his role. He's been very accommodating. He's been supporting off the bench. So I believe he's going to give his full effort, and we'll see a very good D'Angelo Russell this season. Maybe the same as last year up until the Denver series. But to me, I can't expect someone to be different than what I've seen already. I'm not going into the season expecting D'Angelo Russell to all of a sudden play stout defense. I think that's not very realistic. If by some miracle that happens, then that's great. But what I'm going to be paying attention to is who's going to be able to adjust to playing 5 minutes one game and then 18 minutes the next game. That's what's going to help this team. Can you contribute at 5 minutes and 18 minutes in different nights? Because if you do that, the continuity, the chemistry, the will to win, the focus on winning the championship would be there for everyone. Darvin Ham is, I would say, if I had one concern before I even see anything, I'm concerned about his rotations. I don't want to see stubbornness. I don't want you to be the typical coach that's stubborn. We don't need a stubborn coach. We need a coach that can adjust, and he's going to have to adjust each game. Heck, he's going to have to adjust the first two games right out the gate. Denver, Phoenix. He's going to have to adjust and play different lineups during the 48 minutes in each of those games. How he at least lets that kind of develop is going to be something I'm going to be paying attention to very, very closely. If he comes out and he's just putting up lineups that just don't make sense, he's going to have to change it immediately, right away. But I don't think he should be in that position, even with only 5 preseason games. He needs to know how to set this thing up. He's got the talent to do it. He needs to make sure that it's set up the right way for whatever team he's playing against. If there's injuries to the main guys, then at that point, all bets are off. There's nothing really you can do. I'm not expecting Darvin Ham to.
We definitely, Joe, of all the things this year, that's the one thing that cannot happen. Somebody really significant or important has some knick-knack injury early on. Instead of being, like a 2 or 3 week thing, it turns into a 2-month thing. That's kind of what happened with Steve Nash and his back in 2012-13. The Lakers can't afford to have something like that happen, even with the depth they have. That would be a fly in the ointment for sure. That's why I think it's really important that they understand as soon as training camp is over, they have ideas about where they really want to go with this, especially with the depth. Because Gerald, it's a different sport, different example, but it's important. When you have a young team, and outside of LeBron and AD, Lakers are kind of a young team, you need as much playing time or as much practice time as possible so you can develop that continuity and chemistry. One of the big problems now in the NFL is that because a lot of the premier players and the management have decided that they're not going to play a lot during the preseason, if they have an injury or are snake bitten somehow, it's very difficult to pick up the pieces and continue moving on. We see it with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Burrow was absolutely 100% honest after that game and said, I didn't play much during preseason. And we've got a young team and we just haven't got the reps yet. When you're a vet, what Joe has talked about this before, when you're a veteran team, you can kind of get away with that, especially if you're competing with a championship, because you played together for so long that the continuity is almost secondhand. But when you're younger and you don't have that kind of experience, that lack of practice or lack of preparation just kills you. It kills you.
Absolutely. But we'll see what the variations for Darvin Ham, what they will be. Looking forward to definitely checking that out on a daily basis right here at the Lakers Fast Break. And of course, as we get closer and closer to training camp and the season, please make sure you follow us, subscribe, because we're going to be on after every game. We're going to also try and shoot for pre-games as well. So looking forward to a ton of coverage right here at the Lakers Fast Break. But guys, before we head on out, talking about a little bit more about the rotation, a little bit more when it comes to it. Again, there is now a talk, like you guys said, between Max Christie and also as well Cam Reddish, essentially are vying for the same positions, so to speak, maybe buying into some of the minutes that Torian Prince has as well. Your thoughts, Joe, on this? Again, very important for each and every one of those individuals I just named to have a good season, for the fact that all three could be eligible for some big money sometime next season in the summer after the season ends. Excuse me.
Yeah, Jackson Hayes, Cam Reddish, indirectly D'Angelo Russell. Jared Vanderbilt just signed an extension, so he's no longer working on an expiring contract. Torian Prince is another. They're going to have the motivation. Christian Wood for sure. Hayes, Reddish, Prince, and D'Angelo Russell are going into their final money this year. And if half those guys play well, Lakers are going to benefit from it. But playing well on a team that's likely going to only have a 7 to 8 man rotation when it matters is going to be difficult for a team like this. There's just not going to be enough minutes to go around for everyone to make it. So you're going to have to really ball out. Like Cam Reddish is going to have to come in and be a scoring machine if you have any shot at getting regular minutes. And as far as Christian Wood is our first center in the LeBron AD era that can shoot. You have every opportunity to do well. If you start shooting really well at the center position, you are going to be playing, and you likely will be starting during the season a lot. That's a reality. That's not fantasy. It's a reality. And you're talking about spreading the floor for the greatest floor spreader in NBA history in a lot of ways, in LeBron James.
Once again, go ahead.
Yeah, it's there's so many ways this can play out and benefit for the Lakers. It's just a matter of who's going to come out the gate and who's going to sustain their lead on the benefit of this team winning.
Christie has all the advantages in that matchup too. He's younger than Reddish. At this point in Summer League, Gerald, he proved he's a better 3-point shooter than Reddish. He's also on an expiring contract, same as Cam Reddish. He was drafted by the Lakers. So, Gerald, as we've seen, if Rob Pelinka has drafted you, he puts more of an emphasis on your development rather than, say, another player. THT. You chose THT over Caruso.
Gotta make sure you take care of that cough after we're done with the show. There.
Yeah, I know. I need some. I need some
NyQuil. Get you some
NyQuil.
NyQuil.
Yeah, some DM syrup there, Joe.
There you
Thank you. Yeah, but I think Christie has all the advantages here. It's just whether or not he's going to take the wheel and step on the gas and make sure that Reddish never sees the light of day.
Well, to tell you what, we'll see. Again, Cam Reddish, if He's Cam Reddish that can shoot 33. I'm not asking for a huge number there, Sean. If he can shoot 33 to 35%,
I'm asking for big numbers.
He would flourish with the Lakers, especially if they keep the pace anywhere near the top 5 of the league. He would flourish in that time with his athleticism. You got to admit that. But again, it's all about what he does in the half court with him. And does he have enough attention to detail to use that athleticism on the defensive end better than the statistics have laid itself out? Because again, all these guys that we brought in, a little bit on the kind of concerning end on the defense. So Darvin Ham is really going to have to put together a continued solid defense. And we saw that he could after the trade deadline. He did. That they put out there one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. And that's why they had such a great record after the trade deadline. So looking forward to seeing what Darvin Ham can cook up, as long as he avoids, as much as possible, the 3-guard deals that he loves so much in the past season. Hopefully that he can go ahead and try and give us some less stress here by providing us a winning team without as many 3-card lineups, but we'll see. But everyone out there, it's been great having this great chat with you. Tomorrow's got a great show for you lined up at around, I think, coming up here at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. I do want to go ahead and mention I've got Christopher Dodson. He is going to be talking the New Orleans Hornets, so definitely looking for that as far as, the New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans Pelicans going to be on the list right there. So New Orleans Pelicans are going to be the subject for our team preview with Christopher Dodson. But guys, it's been a great episode. I know Joe, Sean, any last thoughts before we head on out?
Gerald, no need to correct yourself. That team has had more names than
no, I gotta make sure.
Shake It Stick at the New
I
Orleans
actually had
Jazz.
it typed in there. I actually had it typed in my chart as New Orleans Hornets. And you guys, when I sent it out there, on the email, you guys didn't correct me on it. So it's just force of habit. It's been Hornets for so long, but it is the Pelicans. Looking for a great conversation, my friend. But go ahead. Any last thoughts, guys, before we head on?
Absolutely. Going from the New Orleans Jazz to the Hornets, now to the Pelicans.
Yes.
We're
gonna be talking some Zion, my friend. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And if he can actually stay on the floor for basketball reasons,
we'll see if Chris has an answer on that. Joe, any last thoughts, my friend? Big win for the Dodgers. You talked about it as we were going into the intro, as you seemingly are now infatuated on doing. Dodgers, big win, my friend. They're going to actually, for once, perform in the playoffs. I have my doubts more so than in previous seasons because of all the happenings to their pitching staff. So
they've been decimated, and
they've still won 100 games. I think give credit for Dave on that. You got to give Dave at least a little bit of credit for it.
I can't give credit to anyone who doesn't win when it matters. I don't care about 100 wins. I don't.
You don't care about regular season 100 wins?
I don't care. I'm done. I watched. I think if I had to guess, I watched probably 130 games last year from beginning to end. Most baseball I've ever watched in my life. They won 111 games, and they rewarded Dodger fans with one playoff win.
Okay.
And their pitching staff is decimated this year.
It is.
The only way they're going to win the World Series this year is if they score 7 and 8 runs, which they've been doing that lately. JD Martinez, I don't know what the hell happened in Boston the last few years for him to come to LA and do what he did. He's only played in 104 games. He's got 29 home runs and 95 RBIs.
Hey, you know what happens when you leave the Northeast and you go to the West Coast.
So my excitement.
You would think that would be easy. That porch, that green monster, it's not that far away. I mean, it's high, but you should just be hitting like double crazy.
I don't know what's going on in the Northeast.
Like racquetball.
Boston and New York seem to be this gloom and doom areas now.
Same thing with Yankee Stadium. It's still got how close is that right field?
That short right field. Yeah, but you know what? There is a cloud over the Northeast.
Okay.
The excitement of baseball isn't there. Mets have been terrible. The Yankees have been terrible. Boston has been terrible. Baltimore obviously has been playing well, but that's the first time they played well in 80 years. It's just I don't I don't know what's going on. And this seems like maybe the enthusiasm from the organizations isn't really that high. They don't look like they care about winning.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, I will say I am impressed by this year because I thought this team was, going to be too old and too injured to
It was
actually.
supposed to be a punt.
Yeah, it was supposed to be,
It was
and yet they
supposed to
end
be
up.
the year they kind of punted the season, and then they wait for Otani.
Yeah, San Francisco, San Diego, they were supposed to be these really hyped up. San Diego and the Angels are two of the most disappointing teams in all of baseball, in my opinion. Both have just laid a big turd on as far as that's concerned. But yeah, the Dodgers. I understand you don't want to give Dave Roberts any credit at all for the regular season because you've seen this scenario before. But Sean, I will give him at least a little bit of credit because the fact is, when you win as many games with such a depleted staff, because compare the staffs that they have now, that's the pitching staff they have now to previous years, especially when they won the title or even the like last year when they should have won. Yeah, it just seems to me that they are so much behind on that end, and he's doing whatever magic he needs to do to get them to win games.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But then again, when I heard Joe talk about Dave Roberts, it was like that Billy Bean quote: "Art, if you lose the last game of the season, no one gives a fuck."
Did you really have to go? Okay, 111 BP. All right. I'll bleep that out for audio audience.
Yeah,
But
no, I don't. I have no. You've had the best team 3 years in the last 7 years, and you've lost all 3 of those years. But in pathetic fashion too. Always taking out your pitcher too early. You won the one World Series because some guy named Kevin Cash did a Dave Roberts to Dave
well,
Roberts.
you got to admit they were cheated out of one.
They were cheated out of one.
Yeah,
but at some point,
that World Series shouldn't exist.
At some point, I need to get on with my life. We need to get on with our lives instead of sitting back and worrying about and being Sacramento Kings fans and worrying about what happened 7-8 years ago. I'm done with it. It's over. The spineless did what they did. Opposing fans let them hear it. They still let them hear it. Now, what I wanted a couple shots at putting my own foot in their mouth, and you failed in miserable fashion too. One game, you win one mother effing game after 111 wins. Why? Why do you keep taking your starters out when it's too early when you know your bullpen sucks in the playoffs? Why? We're the only ones that know this? What analytical idiot keeps playing the same record over and over again? This is not about running into Reggie Jackson hitting 3 home runs and jacking your team up. This is you making the same goddamn mistakes year in and year out, losing important games. If you keep doing that, I'm going to shun you down.
Hey, but I can only blame myself because I actually brought the subject up. But
no. It's important to know. We're talking about Darvin Ham's stubbornness, right? If he's not stubborn and coaches well, because a lot of these guys do this. Look at winning time. Look what happened with Westhead. Look how that kind of developed, right? Look what happened at the end of Pat Riley's reign. At some point,
the Buffalo Bills Doug Flutie got us to the playoffs, but we're going to replace him with Rob Johnson.
Elvis Gerba. Elvis Gerba is not playing. Rich Gannon leads the Chiefs to the number 1 seed, and all of a sudden they decide to put Elvis back into the starting lineup. They lose the first game in the playoffs. It's the stubbornness of coaches and management that kill teams just as bad as malcontent players. Sam Mitchell. Let's talk about the 81-point game real quick, and then we'll go on. Jalen Rose said he refused to double Kobe. For what reason? He's explaining the story. Can we double this guy? And Sam Mitchell tells Jalen Rose, if you do that, you're out of the game. What the kind of stupid coach is this? Double the guy. He's killing you. So The Dodgers have left at the very least 2 titles on the table. At the very least, they should have 3, technically 4 if you count the cheat in 17. But Boston doesn't get enough flack for cheating in 18 either, which is mind-boggling to me. They caught them cheating too, but for some reason everybody says they were too good that year. I'm like, what the freak does that even mean? They cheated that year too. So it's been one big cluster F of lost opportunity, and you're not helping the matters by adding to the misery. You lose out in 2021 when you should have won. You lose out in 2022. Now, what are you going to do? Now you're going to win a world championship with no pitching staff? Maybe that's how it ends. I don't know. We'll see.
But it is the Dodgers have now won their division or clinched their division. They clinched a playoff spot. They're looking real good heading into the playoffs. How good? We'll wait and see. Obviously, we'll hear it from you fans in our best Lakers chat room that's out there, the Lakers Fast Break, and of course, our own Joe Soro. Want to thank everyone for watching and listening. You did get us to 20 likes. Truly appreciate it on YouTube. And thus, I was informed that Kurt Affair, he's doing 1,000 virtual push-ups right now in honor of the 20 likes. So we truly appreciate you doing that. Big shout out to Darren and Intel Wild for their awesome super chat contributions. You're always welcome to do it. It really helps us out in the show. It's not required, but we truly are immensely grateful if you do. Cannot thank you enough. Joe, any last thoughts on the merchandise? I know it's getting closer and closer to training camp, but I wanted to make sure that was mentioned. I knew I have said I have to go ahead and remind Joe something to go ahead and tell the audience.
Once the site's up, we'll obviously send the link, and you guys will be able to start ordering probably around training camp.
Okay, well, there you have it. All right, looking good indeed. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate all your support. For those listening as well, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you go ahead and get your podcasts, we are immensely grateful for your support as well. We're heard around the world, and we cannot thank you enough. And viewed around the world, we cannot thank you enough for doing so. We'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, the New Orleans Pelicans will be the subject and topic that I hopefully will get scheduled and get knocked out, because we had to reschedule our Oklahoma City. I don't want to have to reschedule 2 conversations, so I'm hoping we can go ahead and get it done. But Christopher Dodson is going to be scheduled for later here in tomorrow on Friday. So look forward to that at 4 p.m. Pacific. So for Joe Soro, also as well, Mr. Magic Man, Sean Grice, it's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you got a Lakers fan in your life that really, really enjoys Laker talk out there, please, we think of ourselves as one of the best shows out there. You have told us on many occasions how good we are. We truly are committed to you on providing you another great season of Lakers talk. And we think that no one else out there, absolutely no one else out there, provides you better than what we can do for the Lakers and Lakers talk than the Lakers Fast Break podcast.
Good night. Good fight.
Who are you fighting?
What was that from? I forgot.
Oh, well.